Good afternoon and welcome to CSE Gurukul lecture. In a continuation with the series on kinship studies, in today's lecture I am going to explain the concept of fictive kinship, the meaning and relevance. Fictive kinship is a part of the understanding of new modes or new approaches to the understanding of kinship studies, and it is very significant because it helps us to capture a number of relations which kind of gets ignored if we follow into the traditional way of understanding kinship through biology and blood relations or relations through marriage. If we look into the objective of this lecture, it is to understand the concept of fictive, and this understanding of fictive kinship is very important, as I already said, because it helps us to understand the shift in kinship from biology to the cultural understanding of kinship relation. And when we try to understand the evolution of kinship studies, we see that through there is a kind of growth of kinship studies from the biological descent approach to alliance, and then there was a kind of a deconstruction in the sense there was a revision in the way in which kinship study was being part. And earlier it was most of the time it was kind of anthropologists from Western society going into the non-Western societies, say going to Africa, Asia and other parts of the society to study, and there was an understanding that was a kind of kinship was something which was part of a simple underdeveloped society. And industrial modern society, there was a shift from kinship to the notion of nation or political concept becomes significant. When we look into the kind of revision which was taking place, fictive kinship becomes a significant concept which emerges through this revision and kind of tells us that it helps to capture a number of relations which was kind of ignored in the traditional or the classical approach to kinship. So, in today's lecture, I will try to explain the concept of fictive, and while trying to understand the concept, we will look into a kind of understanding that kinship is not only physiological or kinship is not only biology, but it is more important that it is socially constructed, and that is it's a part of the cultural specificity of every society. I will also explain the different types of fictive kinship, and these forms of fictive kinship were kind of not visible in the traditional kinship studies because it would be not considered as significant. But when we look into new forms or new kinship studies, these fictive forms helps us to capture a number of relations which were kind of not subjects to study earlier. I will also look into how the concept of fictive kinship though helps us to understand a number of dimensions, but then there are certain limitation or there are certain problematics of the concept of fictive, and it's important to look into those also because it will help us then to elaborate or kind of build up a concept which it would be more fruitful in understanding kinship relations. So, let us try to understand the emergence of fictive kinship in kinship studies, and to do that we have to go back to the beginning of kinship studies, especially in anthropology. So, in the beginning, say 1930s 40, kinship was studied through two ways. One was through blood and the other was through marriage relation. So, you had a relation which was through your blood sharing of the same blood, that is the father and his relatives who would be related, and the concept of descent was important. So, all those who were member of the descent were considered as kin, and then there was a kind of a marriage. So, the two set of relation, one was your blood relation which was contrasted to the relations through marriage. As a result, all relations which did not fall into the blood and the marriage relation were considered as fictive. That is, it was kind of considered as non-kinship and was not kind of integrated or not studied. So, it was outside the scope of kinship to look into non-kinship. Only blood relations and relations through marriage were studied in detail by anthropologists. So, it was limited. The use of fictive was kind of as a student of anthropology in the 1930, it only meant non-kinship, those who are not related through blood and kinship. When 1970s, we have the cultural approach by David Schneider, where it was argued that kinship is cultural. Kinship is dependent on the culture of a particular society, and there were a lot of kinship relations which were outside blood and marriage. Fictive kinship becomes significant. Then how do we look into the entire gamut of non-kinship? Because then it would be a larger chunk which would be of non-kinship. They would be not related through blood, they would not be related through marriage. So, how do we look into this non-kinship of fictive, and that is how it becomes significant. When the concept of kinship becomes fictive kinship becomes significant, it helps to understand the idea that kinship network could be beyond physical relation, it could be beyond biological relation. And in many societies, fictive kinship becomes an understanding of shared substance, that there is a kind of sharing of any substance between two or more individuals. So, say a number of individuals are kind of forming a group where members are not related through blood, they are not related to marriage, yet they form as a family. How do we conceptualize that? So, therefore, that concept of fictive kinship becomes significant. Fictive kinship initially in the traditional anthropological approach applied social or quasi pseudo kinship. Quasi means partial and pseudo means false. So, since there was not part of the blood relation, not part of the marriage relation, they were kind of considered as false or partial, incomplete. And as I already told that there were only two ways of identifying a kin network. It was either you shared blood with the person or you had a marital relation. If either of the two was absent, then the relation was labeled as fictive kinship. Now, post 1970s with the cultural approach, there was an extension of kinship to a wide network of relation beyond biology, beyond physiological relation, and in that context then fictive kinship becomes a way or becomes a criteria of understanding relation between individual members. Now, when we look into fictive kinship, we see that there were other related terms also. Now, when we go back to Lewis Morgan, who is considered as the father of kinship study, because he started off the understanding of kinship networks and gives us the kinship terminology in terms of classificatory and descriptive. According to Morgan, there are two kinds of kinship classes. The one is descriptive or natural, and the second is classificatory or artificial. So, the second category of classificatory or the artificial would involve the fictive kinship. So, Morgan would therefore consider it as artificially, which is again to repeat relations beyond biological relation. There was no kind of sharing of blood, there was no sharing of marital relation. Another way of defining kinship relation was in anthropology is the concept of relatedness. That is the culture of relatedness, where individuals are kind of related to each other through sharing of residence, sharing of blood, so kind of several criteria of sharing, and that sharing of substance creates network relations. A third term which is very familiar or very similar to fictive kinship is the term used by Janet Carsten, which is concept of relatedness. The third term which I am talking about is kinshipping. Kinshipping is a term used by Shyrock, Trotman and Gamble, and they use this term kinshipping. If you look into the term kinshipping, implies that there is a process, there is some amount of an effort towards making kinship. So, ing is a process. So we kind of try to attempt to construct kinship relation, and obviously when biological relations are given, so you don't have to put in an effort. Kind of, it is often said that we don't have a choice to select our parents, so it is given to us naturally. Where kinshipping implies that you have the possibility of making one, creating one. So you can, it could be something which is outside your genetic relation. So you can be in a kind of a lived example. There could be a family in which the two siblings are kind of, which is a blood relations, are not at a very comfortable, they don't kind of gel together, or they don't kind of like each other. So there could be a sibling conflict between the two. The person could find someone from office, from college, from outside world to be more comfortable with, where could share, could live together, could be a part of one another's life. So that is kind of considered as kinshipping, that is constructions of relationship. So when we look into the same sex relation or the lesbian and gay family, it is something which could be fitting into the understanding of kinship as a construct, kinship as kind of an attempt made to create relationship which are not necessarily through genetic or blood relations. So the three terms, fictive, relatedness and kinship, are kind of more or less used synonymously in kinship studies. Now coming back to fictive kinship, we need to understand some of the features of fictive kinship. So the first feature is that they are defined by criteria distinct from those established by blood or marriage. As I already told a while ago, that the relations through blood or genetic relations are established, they are fixed, they are they kind of given to us. So it would be fictive relation would be nothing very close to a blood relation. It could be completely different from the blood relation or genetic relations. So second is they may mimic. Mimic means that they may try to copy the way in which a biological or a physiological relation is established. And the best example would be here, when we look into it, would be kind of look into say a lesbian or a same sex women relationship, where the two women who kind of partners into a marital relation generally tries to mimic, in the sense that one individual or one of the women would take on the role of a male person. So this relation, which is a homosexual relation, kind of gets modeled around a heterosexual relation. So that is mimic or trying to copy. The third feature of fictive kinship is that these terms can have religious or economic component. That is, they could be related to any kind of a religious idea, a philosophical idea, or could be a part of the economic setup, and it could be kind of manipulated. These fictive relations could be manipulated to fill the gap. So many a time, as I already said, that they are kind of the family, the institution of family, which is not necessarily always functional or a safe, can create a lot of uncomfortable zone for individual, and it is in that uncomfort people move out and try to seek for individuals, and they kind of develop a relation with them. So that kind of understanding is there. When we look into the fourth feature of kinship, it's non-voluntary. It kind of nobody is kind of asking individual to do it. It just happens. It's not even something which is kind of planned or something which is kind of has to happen. It just happens with some individual, and it could be in kind of also sharing of certain responsibilities, the certain obligations towards each other, that such a relations kinds of develops. The fifth feature of fictive kinship is that it could be even kind of involve distant relationship. So when we again try to understand, in contrast to the biological or the descent model, we see that in that the elementary family is the focus. So, the elementary family is the father, the mother and the siblings. Here fictive is kind of expanding. So, you can have a distant relative who could be related through some kind of linkage can develop into fictive kinship because of the maybe there is a lack of knowledge or kind of requirement. Also, when we look into this fictive kinship, we can also understand in the context of India, especially that people who come from one village, especially when we look into migration into industrial area, all members who come from one area to a urban city, one village, are referred as brother. Fine. So, that brother, using the concept of brother or bhai for all members belonging to one particular village is the concept of fictive. So, it could be a distant relative, it could be a non-relative, but a kind of a connect is made between the person, and that is what fictive kinship is. The sixth feature of fictive kinship is that it kind of extends the concept, and this is what I already said in the beginning of the lecture, that fictive kinship would include within its realm a number of relations which would have been kind of ignored or neglected by the biological and the blood relations. So, we need to bring in a wider network, and looking into the relations that individuals kind of have in contemporary society, it becomes very important to expand the network and understand the relation. For instance, again, how would we define a relation which is established between, say, a banker and the client? So, there is an individual banker or a personal manager who is assigned to look into the banking relation, and one develops a relationship of kind of connect with that person. It is not a biological relation, it is not a marital relation, but there is a kind of connect between the two. So, fictive, it is a type of a fictive kinship. Now, it is very important to understand the concept of fictive kinship by comparing it with what is called as the pure kinship. The pure, why is it called pure kinship? Because it was kind of considered as the core of kinship in the traditional understanding of, or the founding figures considered as blood and marriage as core. So, we need a comparison between the pure kinship and the fictive kinship. As it is clear from the lecture till now that the pure kinship, there are two elements to define it. One is the blood and the second is a marriage relation. In a fictive relation, there is no blood, there is no marital relation. It could be a wide range of substance of sharing. So, there is a kind of sharing of food, sharing of residence, sharing of space, working space, and so on and so forth. Number two, pure kinship is voluntary. Is non-voluntary, because you are kind of born into it. You are given that relation, and it is established through the act of procreation between a man and a woman. Here, in fictive kinship, it is not kind of non-voluntary, it is voluntary, especially it is a time when the individual are grown up. It would actually, construction would take place, because where children or babies are not kind of concerned, they are not conscious about it. We look into the lesbian relation, live-in relation, surrogacy, or the new reproductive technology. These are all facts that takes place in adolescence. Therefore, it is a choice of an individual to kind of construct a network. Kath Weston has again used the concept of the phrase of families by choice to explain the lesbian and gay family, that it is a family which is constructed by the voluntary choice of two individuals. So, it is a part of everyday life. Again, it is not fixed. This, if we look into the family, biological family compared to the lesbian gay family, again we see that once is born into a family, you are kind of considered as a member. So, even if you have a conflict or you go away and stay, the bond is there. It is a non-breakable bond. Whereas, in the families by choice, it is a kind of something which is not necessarily fixed. It need not necessarily be a lifelong unit. After 4 years or 5 years, they do not feel like staying together, or there is some kind of a difference of opinion. So, there is kind of the separate and the unit kind of gets dismantled. So that's the difference. The third difference between pure kinship and fictive kinship is that pure kinship is universal and uniform. So every culture across society, we know that there is a relation between the father and the son, and that relation is universal, that is through sharing of blood. Now whether it is a formal relation or an informal relation will vary from culture to culture, but it is established that there is a relation between the two on the basis of sharing of blood, so it's universal and uniform. Fictive kinship, as already pointed, is culturally specific. There's no one fixed identity or there's no one fixed criteria of defining kinship, fictive kinship. The fourth difference is responsibilities in a pure kinship is defined through blood and marriage. So we know that the relation between the father and the son is a formal relation. So the father is supposed to take care, is supposed to earn and ensure that the child, son kind of grows up and becomes a sensible person. Again, there is a kind of a responsibility between the husband and wife. So the responsibilities are defined. It kind of is universal again. Whereas in a fictive kinship, there is no responsibility being defined. It's ambiguous. And it is kind of individual's choice to define their own role or take on their own responsibility. The fourth difference between pure and fictive kinship is that in pure kinship, the relations are permanent. It's a lifelong relation. So it cannot kind of just come to an end. Whereas fictive relation changes. It keeps changing from time to time. It has a beginning and it has an end. Now, what are the factors for the formation of fictive ties? Because there has to be certain ground on which these relations are formed. So we need to look into some of the factors which has enabled individual to construct a kinship network or kind of be able to come close to each other, to be able to relate to each other. So these factors are, number one, it could kind of develop over time. As I already said in the earlier, the two individuals staying together, sharing certain things, they develop a certain amount of proximity, they develop a certain kind of liking, there could be a kind of bond which is developed, so it kind of gets constructed. So the first factor for the formation of fictive kinship is absence of family-like setting. When there is an absence, when an individual is not able to kind of find a family, so there could be a desire, it's a human psychological need to have people around, to share your feelings, to kind of be a part of a group. It is in this context that the fictive kinship can emerge. So the non-family, the absence of family kind of helps us to construct relations with non-family. And this fictive ties often kind of comes into when primary family ties, that is the relation with father, mother, sibling, is kind of incomplete. You do not have a very good rapport with the father or the mother. There is something which is kind of discomfort, and therefore there is a desire to develop a non-family relation. The second factor for the formation of fictive kinship is religious practice. In many religious settings, kind of there is a occasion or there is a possibility of people to be a part of one kind of a household. They stay together, they are doing the activities together, the everyday lived experiences together. So in that context, again a fictive kinship can develop, and the example here can be of baptism. So the baptism is a religious practice among the Christian, which is kind of act of initiating an individual into a religion. It kind of is a religious practice which will identify a person as a Christian, and therefore this act of being a part of one community gives you a feeling of brotherhood or the feeling of belongingness, and that kind of leads to the understanding. So the godparents or the godfather is again concept which comes in from Christianity, can be kind of explained as fictive kinship. So, the godfather is not necessarily the biological or the genitor, but is a member, a senior member from the Christian community who takes on the responsibility of the children to take care of it. The third is kind of sharing common life situation. And I've told throughout the lecture that it could be a several occasion where individuals are sharing the same life situation outside the traditional family, and that gives us the scope of developing non-family. And here the example which could be given is could be of the military, where the military members are staying away from the family. They are staying away from the biological family in one unit, in the military unit, and they can be an occasion of building very close bond, or they could be a culture of relatedness being developed, especially when they are on war. So, there are a lot of hardship, there is a lot of difficulty, and it is the members of the military who come to rescue each other. There could be other factors like medical, legal requirement, some relations established through the medical treatment, the fertility clinic where sperm egg donation and or the in vitro fertilization takes place gives us the occasion of creating relations. So, fictive kinship is kind of an important concept that helps us to understand kinship relation beyond biology and beyond the marital relation. Fictive kinship is a part of the cultural approach which helps us to understand relations, especially the relation with the sperm donor, the egg donor, live-in relationship, the relationship developed through growing up in a religious community or working together in a say migrants, they live in one house given by the factory, or they are sharing the same problem. So, this helps us to understand a new direction in kinship study. That is, kinship is something which helps us to understand the contemporary society. With this understanding of fictive kinship, I come to an end of today's lecture. Thank you.